Okay, everybody, we're live. Hey, Erin, how are you?
Good, Darla. Thank you. How are you?
I am awesome. For everybody that knows me, you know how darn excited I am to finally be getting in my office, and I got everything built last night and all hung and ready for this very first interview. I'm so excited to be doing this with who I'm doing it with. And this is the beginning of a lot of great interviews and stories to come. One thing I'm very blessed with is having a large network of people that are amazing, amazing people that are out there becoming above average, changing their lives, making a difference in the world, doing amazing things. And they all have a story. You know, that's what's so fascinating is every single successful person didn't wake up that way and just become that way. They had to learn their lessons. And a lot of us learned it through hard knocks, and we get to use our lessons to be blessings. And so there I am here today, fortunate and grateful that I've had the life that I have because it led me to amazing people like Erin. And so Erin is the author of this book right here. It's called From Beaten to Badass. And you can only imagine what it means. And in reading the forward, I realized, wow, you know, you're a lot more than I've already known you to be. And even though I know a lot about your past, it's amazing what you've been through and a lot of things that I've been through too. So that's why we connected. I truly believe everybody's connected by energy and we're connected for purposes. And this is how movements start and missions start. And the hairs crawl on my skin when I think about another person coming together with the power to be able to make a difference in the world. And I'm excited for you to hear Erin's story and especially to hear her mission. So you guys, please stick around till the end so you can hear about how you can play a role in helping other people that have been through this same type of situation. We all have people on our friends list and in our circle of influence that we know that you don't know their past. You don't know what their home life is like, and you don't know what they've come from and what they're crying themselves to sleep at night about and what they're praying for. So Erin, if you would please, I want to give you as much of this time as possible, and then I'm going to take away the close. So I want to hear about your story, you know, and take a few minutes, how you got to be who you are, what brought you here, and how the book became about. And then let's talk about what your mission is and what your dream in life is.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So I'm Erin Bear, and I live in Colorado, and I haven't always been from Colorado. I'm originally from California, La Crescenta, Burbank area, and I've moved around a lot as a child. My mom, took off with my twin sister and I when we were just 2 years old to Massachusetts to live with her mom. And my dad didn't know where we were for a couple of years, and he looked for us and he had no idea where we were. And then my mom eventually moved to Kansas City, Missouri, where she met a guy and fell in love and had another child. And my twin and I just kind of hung it out, and did our thing. And growing up, I was bullied. I was teased all the time as a child from kids, from my own family members, my own sisters. And I just figured, that's just the way life is supposed to be. I'm just supposed to, I guess, deal with it and figure it out. And so I became very secluded in my own mind, and I would draw and I'd ride bikes, and I would kind of just stay to myself, because anytime I interacted with people or tried to connect with people, something I wanted so badly, it just backfired, and it felt so wrong and so hurtful. And so I just isolated myself. And quick little story that actually will bring you to the reason why I wrote my book is when I was 10 years old, my mom always told me, you should always make your gifts, they're from the heart and they take time and they're invaluable, there's no price tag. And so she loved Coca-Cola, and I had the dancing little flower, that danced and sang. And so I took that because it was my favorite thing, and Coca-Cola was hers. And I took a Coca-Cola can and I took my dancing flower and I put them together, and I called it the Can Man. And I was really proud of this gift. I was like, my mom's going to love this. She said to make our gifts, and I gave it to her, wrapped it up really nice and pretty for Christmas. She opened up the gift and she looked at it, took it out, and said it was the worst gift she had ever gotten. And she took that Can Man in front of me on Christmas morning and she threw it in the trash. And so from that moment, the seed of not being good enough for anything I ever make is ever going to be good enough was planted. And since my mother gave me that seed, I figured it was an important seed that I should plant and I should nurture and I should let grow into a huge forest. And so it just, over time, you know, it just grew with bullying and abandonment and abuse and all of the different things. And then I decided the best thing for me was to move away from my family. And that happened 12 years ago. And I moved to Colorado. And I wanted to spread my wings and start my life over. I had a master's degree and I was like, you know, I've been independent since I was 14. I can do this. And so I did. And it turned out to be one of the biggest nightmares at that time that I'd ever experienced. And I had gotten into an adult relationship. I was like, you know, I've been an adult for so long and it's been 11 years and I can do this. And it turned out to be a really bad decision. I wanted that human connection. I wanted to feel loved. I wanted to feel appreciated and wanted by somebody. And that somebody turned out to be a boyfriend who turned out to be a monster. And he quickly emotionally abused me, financially abused me, physically abused me. Eventually he raped me. And I thought I deserved it because I had this seed of not feeling good enough. And, you know, if somebody's going to pay attention to me, I should just go ahead and accept it for what it's worth because that's all I deserved anyway. And it only lasted 7 months, way too long. But the little girl inside me finally stood up. That 10-year-old girl inside me said, wait, whoa, like, hold up. And she spoke up and she kicked the monster out for the both of us. And that's when my life turned around and led me down the path that God always intended. I feel that, you know, we make mistakes, we go through hard times, but I truly believe that they're broken blessings because they're a blessing. They just may seem broken to us at the time, but they truly become a blessing and it leads us into our purpose. And a lot of people used to ask me, you know, don't you wish you never went through abuse? Well, sure. Who wants to be abused? Who wants to be beat? Who wants to be assaulted? But at the same time, instead of saying, why me, I chose to say, why not me? I'm the person who is supposed to stand up and speak up and bring light into this darkness because people won't do it. And that's my purpose.
I love it. And so here you are today. And what inspired you to write the book? And why the elephant? I love the story of the elephant. Talk about the elephant.
Sure. So when I was going through the abuse, like the court case after kicking him out and charges being pressed, I received a restitution check for $1,000 and I was $18,000 in debt because I was playing what I call Russian roulette with my bills. What bill's gonna get paid this month and which one am I gonna put on my credit card? And I got $18,000 in debt. I already had $75,000 in debt from student loans of my master's program and undergraduate degree. And I got this check and it was $1,000. And I looked at that check and I said, you know what, if I'm ever in a position to ever give back to those impacted by domestic violence and sexual assault, it'll become my life's mission. I'm not there yet, but it'll become my life mission. And then eventually, I was already with my husband, who is my husband now at that time when I got that check. And he supported me. And I was like, I think I'm going to write my book. But every time I got to the part where I had to tell my story about the abuse, I wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready. And then the Me Too movement happened a couple of years ago. And I got really, I don't want to say pissed off, but I got really inspired by these women that were finally telling their story. And I was like, I know how they feel. Like, why can't I voice my opinion? I shouldn't feel shameful or guilty or, you know, like it's my fault. It wasn't my fault. And so the people that helped me through, you know, the abuse, like getting past the abuse and all of that, I decided I was going to tell my story. And so I started briefly talking about it on social media. And then last year, I kept getting a nudge, like God was nudging me. He was like, come on, like you need to tell your story. And I just kept kind of shoving him away. I was like, no. But in January last year, he decided to stop nudging and he yelled in my ear and he was like, it is time. It is time to tell your story. So I sat down last year in January, and from January to July 14th, I wrote my story in 5.5 months. And I just let it all pour out of me. And I said, so while I was writing my story, it actually started with a bracelet. So I needed some motivation to keep writing my story. And so I created this bracelet and I put it on my wrist and I posted it on social media. And I said, just a little wrist motivation to keep doing what I'm doing, because purple is a color for domestic violence. And so it's got purple in it. And so every time I looked at it, it was a reminder of my why, to help those impacted. And so I posted it on social media, didn't think anything of it. And people were like, I want to buy one. Can you make one, with some different colors? I was like, oh my gosh, I can give back financially now. Like, I'm in the position to finally, make good on my promise that I made to myself, so many years ago. And so we were able to I made bracelets, I made them myself, and I had a friend help me. We sold a ton of them, and I started giving back to Family Tree here in Colorado. While I was writing my book, it just kept growing and growing. So I created the company Beaten to Badass, and I was like, I'm going to give a portion of my book back to those impacted. And so it just became a movement, like before my eyes. It just, I mean, literally from a bracelet and writing my story. And the reason why the elephant is because elephants have been my favorite animal since I was 2 years old. I just find them majestic and gentle, and they don't forget, and they're very connected with one another within their tribe. And I've always wanted that. I've always felt connected to elephants. And so the elephant to me represents so much more of what I want and who I am at the same time. Like, they don't forget the past. They really truly try to live in the present, and they look towards the future. And they're very human. I mean, I don't want to say human, but they are connected to humans, but they're very connected within their tribe. And I really find passion in them. And so I have them all over my house. They have taken over my house. But the elephant I think it just symbolizes so much of what I've wanted and what I now have.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. And now let's talk about your movement that you're creating that inspired me so much. I mean, and I really truly believe you need to have some type of a connection or a reason to support a cause. You're either into something or you're not. And for me, a lot of Erin's story of what she's went through, I've personally been through, and still to this day haven't shared my whole story. And a lot of it has to do with having a 16-year-old child and wanting her to mature and be old enough and hear the stories as she's able to handle them. And so I immediately connected with Erin when I heard her on a podcast show. She's on a lot of podcast shows. So if you're out there and you have a podcast show or you have a TV show or whatever, and you want to interview someone on this topic, please reach out to Erin. We're going to give her information at the end of this, and we'll also post it on how you can get a hold of Erin. But I want to tell you what she's doing with her book. So my mother was very big growing up, teaching us kids to do nonprofits. You'll see a lot of my trophies and awards and recognitions back here from the Rotary Club, and I have a lifetime membership to the Boys and Girls Club. That shows how much I've done with the Boys and Girls Club, and I raised the most money ever raised for our local Rotary Club, and I was very big into that growing up in my business worlds. And one of the organizations that my mother used to support and spend a lot of time and energy on was called Shelter from the Storm. And Shelter from the Storm out in the Coachella Valley is where battered women and abused women can escape and go to and get help. And we supported them a lot. And so Erin is doing a personal mission. Erin, share a little bit about what your prompting was inside about getting a book in each. Why did you want to do that, and where did that whole prompting come from?
Sure. So everything, was launched last year. My book, my business, everything was launched by October, which is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we did really well. We were able to give over $550 to a local organization here in Colorado. And I was like, man, can I just give back one step further? Can I take giving back one step further? And then I ended up losing another child. So I've been dealing with infertility. I lost another child, and I almost lost my life due to the ectopic pregnancy. And I was feeling sorry for myself, and I usually don't feel sorry for myself. And I was like, I just need to get back into what I love in my life and really focus on the positive, because everything happens for a reason. So as I was kind of down in the dumps and recovering from surgery, I thought about my mission and how well we've done so far, but I just felt there had to be something more. And I was just sitting in my house on December 27th last year, and I was like, giving back one step further. And I looked at my book and I was like, wait a minute. I want people to be able to read my story. I don't want to just be able to give financially. Like, how can I get this book into the hands of people that need to hear my story, because obviously God told me to write my story for a reason. There's got to be something bigger. It's not about me anymore. And so I was like, wait a minute, could I have people sponsor my book and then I can send it to them and send it to the shelters in honor of the person that sponsored. So, sponsored by, and then send it to a shelter to help those victims and survivors know that there is light in their darkness, and we are their light. And so I asked my husband, I said, do you think this is silly if I was to have people, buy the book, but they don't get the book, and then I send it to a shelter? Do you think that's a silly thing to do? And he's like, why would that be silly? That sounds amazing. He goes, that sounds like something that you should be doing already. And I was like, really? It was, yeah. And so I called it Make an Impact in 2020. So I posted it on Facebook on December 27th, and I got a hit immediately. And so I got a hit immediately, and it was somebody that's a friend of mine who actually wrote a praise for my book, and she's like, count me in, I'm kind of in that industry. Can you send it to Tennessee instead of Colorado? And I was like, well, yeah, I'll send it wherever you want. You sponsor the book, I'll send it to whatever shelter. And so it started the movement, and it's just gotten bigger and bigger. It's been 5 months almost to the day. We've sponsored 140 shelters. I've got people that sponsor day in, like every single month without fail. And we've heard, from a few shelters. I wish we've heard from more, but they're doing the important work, so I don't mind not hearing from them. But what happens is the book gets sent to the shelter. Your name is in that book, or whoever you want to honor is in that book. A letter is sent with the shelter explaining our cause, and then the staff read it and they fight over it. So not only is the book being sent to the people that are helping the victims and survivors, they're able to see it from a survivor's point of view, and then they put it on the shelf, and then the victims and survivors can pick that book and read it, from cover to cover, or flip through it and be like, oh, wow, me too. And what I try to explain to people is, you are their light in their darkness. They feel there's no hope, there's no strength, that they're never gonna be able to end the cycle of abuse. But for them to read somebody else's story and see how far they've come, you are that light in the darkness, and you'll never know the effects of the impact that you make. You'll never know how far it goes, but I can tell you that it's a ripple effect. It's a huge impact that's just gonna keep going and going and going.
Yep. So immediately when I heard Erin share that story about doing what she's doing with these books, I immediately called her up and I sponsored a book for the Shelter from the Storm on behalf of my mother. I'm going to cry right now. When I called my mom and told her, was just beside herself, because it means so much to her. That was something. My mom's 80, she's going to be 85 in August. So she's retired from all of that now, but that meant a lot to her. And I told Erin, I said, Erin, I want you to be my first interview. And how many books are you short from hitting your goal, Erin?
So we want to hit 150 by the end of May, which is in like 3 days, and we're 10 short.
So 10 books. And I told Erin, don't worry, I've got your 10 people. And so if you're out there watching right now and you want to sponsor a book to a shelter, you can pick your shelter. She's got a list of shelters that she hasn't covered in states. What are your states, Erin? Michigan?
So Michigan, Minnesota just got sponsored last night. So Minnesota got sponsored, but we need Michigan, Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. And then I'll be doing a pinning ceremony for every state that's been covered this weekend. But you can pick any state. I just want to hit 150 or more. Like, I would love to blow this month out of the water, because this is our biggest month to date. And I would love to see it just.
And it's how much to sponsor a book?
$25.
$25. And how do people go sponsor a book?
They go to beatentobadass.com, and on the homepage, there's a pink button in the right-hand corner. It says Make a Difference. Click the sponsor now, and it'll take you to the page where you just hit sponsor now.
So that's Beaten to Badass, and it's T-O, not the number 2. So Beaten to Badass at .com, and sponsor the book. And then the same thing will happen like what happened to me. You reached out to me and asked me who I want to sponsor it to and on what behalf. And I got a great package in the mail, and she sent me some little goodies in the mail, and you'll get those little goodies in the mail too. And you can also order a copy for yourself. And you guys, all I ask is share this story, share this interview, write a little something. Who do you know that's been beaten, abused, raped, domestic violence, a victim of whatever, write something that is going to be catchy to the words of someone on your Facebook that would be that person, because you don't know who they are. They're not, it's not something people talk about unless you're really, really close to them. And so that's all I ask. And that's my goal for this new, I don't even know what I'm calling it yet, talk show, podcast show, whatever it turns out to be, is to take people like Erin that are doing amazing things in the world and give them the exposure to my network and ask my network to then expose it to their network. And these types of missions, one by one by one, with these types of people that are making a difference in the world, we can cure a lot of things together. Because as you know, it takes a large network of followers, fans, supporters, believers, customers, and friends to make a difference in the world. So Erin, thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else you want to say? Take a second. If there's someone watching this that's you've touched emotionally and they haven't shared their story yet, maybe, or they haven't spoke out or something, talk to them. Look in the camera and say something to them.
So I just want everybody to know that your circumstances do not define you. You're a badass. You just have to get back up. If you take 100% responsibility, whether it was your fault or not, you can make a difference. You can change it. It's all up to you and how you look at it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Erin. And thank you so much, everyone, for watching today. And I don't know who you'll see me with next time, because I don't even know yet, but there will be a next time. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much, Carla. Such an honor.
Thank you.